श्री कृष्ण गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Let us read from Sutra number 29. Nabhichakre kayavyuha jnanam Kantakupe kshut pipasa nivrittihi कूर्मनाड्यां स्थैर्यं मूर्धज्योतिषी सिद्धदर्शनम् प्रातिभाद्वा सर्वम् हृदये चित्तसंवित सत्वपुरुषयोः अत्यंत असंकीर्णयोः प्रत्यया विशेषो भोगः परार्थत्वात् स्वार्थ संयमात् पुरुषज्ञानम् ततः प्रातिभश्रावण वेदना दर्शा स्वादवार्ता जायन्ते ते समाधौ उपसर्गा व्युत्थाने सिद्धयः। Up to here we have seen all the siddhis which are of the nature of knowledge, in the sense what we will be able to perceive or attain as a result of sayyama in different parts of our body, etc. So siddhis are not only able to know, able to understand, but also the ability to do what everybody cannot do. And these are the Kriyatmaka Siddhis. They are being discussed now from the 38th Sutra onward. So, the 38th Sutra reads, Bandhana Karana, Bandha Karana, Shaithilyat, Prachara Samvedanacha, चित्तस्य पर शरीरावेशः. Now here we will be talking about those siddhis by which we are able to do something. Not only know, but doing is also included. Now what is this? Bandha karana shaithilyat and prachara samvedanacha chittasya. When we are able to do these two things, one is bandha karana shaithilya and second is prachara samvedana. When these two things are able to be done, then one is able to enter other person's bodies, live or dead. This is the unique siddhi. Now what Bhagavan Vedavyasa has to say? Loli bhutasya, that means chanchalasya yatra kvachanagamino manasaha. Loli bhutasya means that mind which is unsteady, which is constantly moving, which is never available to one place at one time. So, loli bhutasya apratishthasya. And the mind cannot hold on to the same thing for a long period of time. Therefore, apratishthasya. Lolibhutasya apratishthasya manasaha, of that mind or the chitta, karmashaya vashat sharire bandhaha. Now see, this is a very subtle and extremely scientific understanding. See, mind is so unsteady that it doesn't hold on to any one theme for a long period of time. It will keep on jumping from one to another. How come that the mind is holding on to one body for such a long period of time? Just imagine you are sitting here and suddenly your mind leaves the body and goes away. Isn't it? So, this doesn't happen. So, what is that? So, the teacher says here, karmashaya vashat sharire bandhaha. Because of the samskar, the impressions which the mind has gathered in the earlier life, as a result of which the mind requires an abode to stay. Without that, it cannot function. And as a result of this, the mind has to take a gross body. And after the mind has taken a gross body, then this mind will hold on to that gross body on the strength of what? What is that which is keeping the mind fixed in one body? So that is karmashayaha. That is the impressions or the samskar, the karma impressions gathered from the last life. Karmashaya vashat sharire bandhaha. And bandhaha pratishtha ityartaha. Bandha means what? It remains there fixed. Now, tasya bandha karanasya karmanaha shaithilyam samadhi balat bhavati. Now this bandha karana, that means karma samskar, impressions on the mind, shaithilya, weakening, samadhi balat bhavati. Now this is the rule. You remember this is called as the dharma megha samadhi. When we practice sampradnyat samadhi for a long period of time, as a result, slowly, all the impressions on the mind, they start getting dropped and erased. The best example I can think of is when our clothes have got lot of wrinkles. So, cloth with a wrinkle and cloth properly ironed. What is the difference? The same way. When our mind is having a lot of impressions on the mind from the last life's karma, now all those impressions are ironed out. So what the ironing does? With a particular heat, with a particular temperature or the moisture, it will remove the crease. And then what is left behind? The same cloth, but without impressions. In the same manner, samadhi or meditation is ironing of the mind to remove the impressions. Therefore, it is called as the dharma megha samadhi. And when this is done, samadhi balat bandha karanasya karmanaha shaithilyam bhavati. This is how it happens. Thereafter, second, prachara samvedanascha chittasya samadhijam eva. Now, by the same samadhi abhyas, like we have seen, hrudaye sanyamat chitta jnanam, when we are able to do the sanyama on the chitta or hrudaya, then chitta jnanam. What is inside the chitta? That is very clearly known to us. So, hrudaye chitta samvit. This is the sutra. So, chitta samvit means what? What exactly happens to the chitta when it is moving? When the mind is moving. So, Prachara samvedanancha chittasya samadhijam eva. Samadhija born out of samadhi. So this practice of meditation, sampradnyat and asampradnyat samadhi, what it will lead to two results. One, our mind will be freed from or released from the impressions which we have gathered in our last lives, and also it will know how the mind is functioning. See, in our Yoga Shastra we are told, what is told? Which is the place where is the Prana Vayu, where is the Udana Vayu, where is the Samana Vayu? How do we know that? Like this shloka comes, Hrudi prano gude panaha samano nabhideshaga udana kantadeshe syad vyanaha sarva shariraga. These pancha pranas, prana, vyana, udana, samana, etc. Where are they in the body? So Hrudi pranaha, in the heart is the place for the prana. Gude apanaha, at the anus is the place for the apana vayu. Samanaha nabhideshagaha. So samana vayu is in the nabhi, in the umbilicus. And udanaha kantadeshe. The udana vayu is seated in the kantha. And vyanaha sarva shariragaha. And the vyana vayu is spread throughout the body. Now who has told this? Where from this knowledge has come? So this knowledge about, like we have seen, that kaya vyuha jnanam. So when we do this yoga abhyas or the meditation, the chitta prasara, how the mind functions, through which nadis it goes, what exactly happens when we interact with the world, how the impressions are formed, which aspect of the interaction form the impression, which aspect of the interactions do not form the impression, all these details about the working of the mind is known through the sampradnyat, asampradnyat samadhi or the sayyama. Therefore, prachara samvedanancha chittasya samadhijam eva. All the movements of the chitta are also known through the samadhi. Now, what happens? Because of this samadhi, karma bandhakshayat prachara samvedanacha. Now two things have happened to this yogi. One, the impressions from the last life are removed, and one is able to know the movement and functioning of the chitta. As a result of his yogi chittam swa sharirad nishkrusha sharirantarashu nikshapati. As a result of which the yogi is able to take out his mind and enter anybody's mind, alive or dead. See, in the life of Bhagwan Shankaracharya, this event comes. That when he has to have the experience of a married person's life, so he keeps his body, tells his disciple to look after the body, and gets out of the body. And thereafter he enters the body of the king who has just died. And again the king becomes enlivened. So now who is functioning through that king's body was not the king, but the Shankaracharya. He had that ability. Therefore he was able to maintain that his body, it will not disintegrate because it is not dead. And he also entered the other body, and that body also remains enlivened. So this ability Swa sharirat nikrushya, having pulled out from one's own body, sharirantareshu, in the body of other, nikshipati, he can project, he can go into. So parashariram avishati. So nikshiptam chittam, in this manner, this nikshiptam chittam indriyani anupatanti. Now here also there is another beautiful thing, that when the mind goes, all the faculties will also go. Because where are the faculties? the faculty to see is not in the eyes. Eyes are the instrument. The faculty to see, Jnanendriya, eyes, they are in the mind. Similarly, the faculty to hear is also in the mind. Now that faculty to hear, which is in the mind, it can become manifest only through the instrument of ear. So when the chitta or the mind goes from one body to another body, along with that, all other faculties also follow. Now hearing is a very beautiful example. Indriyani cha chittanusarini parasharire yatha adhisthane nivishanti. Therefore, the indriyas, the senses of this yogi, they go and occupy the respective places in the other body. Then example is given. Yatha utpatantam madhukara rajam makshika anutpatanti vinishamanam anu nivishante. This example where we have seen in Prashnopanishad. There we have seen which Prashnopanishad? Who told? So in the Prashnopanishad this thought comes. Like the queen in a hive. When the queen leaves the hive, all other bees follow. And when the queen goes and sits somewhere, all the bees go and sit in the same manner. This chitta, when it leaves from one body and goes into another body, so like the queen and the other bees, all these faculties also enter the other body and go and occupy the respective place. So, tatha indriyani parasharirāveshe chittam anuvidhiyante. And in this is how this yogi, who by the practice of samadhi etc. and the various kinds of sayyama, he is able to develop this faculty. And this is the kriyatmak faculty. This is the faculty of doing something. Up to earlier what we have seen, that these are the things he becomes known to him. He is able to say what is beyond the wall without the removal of the wall. He is able to hear what is happening in America without a mobile phone. He is able to smell what is being cooked in the kitchen without going nearby. So these faculties are only of the receptive type. Now this one is the one wherein he has the freedom. He can enter anybody's body or live or dead. Now the next siddhi, 39th sutra, Udana Jayat Jala Panka Kantakadishu Asangaham Utkrantischa. Similarly, what is this Udana Vayu? So for explaining the Udana Vayu, Bhagwan Veda Vyasa explains their position. Samasta indriya vrittihi pranadi lakshana jivanam. So, pranadi lakshana jivanam. What is the meaning of somebody is alive? Because somebody is alive, how do we know? Because the breathing is going on. And what the breathing does? The breathing keeps all the vital faculties alive. So, pranadi lakshana jivanam. So, the life is dependent on this prana, etc. Tathokta samasta indriya vrittihi jivanam. And therefore, because of the vital air functioning, now this prana should not be taken as air. So the external air in proximity with the consciousness, become the physiological faculty. See? Like a man with the proximity of his position becomes a director, an officer, a subordinate, a clerk, or a watchman. In the same manner, this external air, when it comes in proximity with the consciousness, it is divided into 5 faculties. So, prana, apana, samana, udana, and the vyana. Now, samasta indriya vrittihi, this is how jivana namni sarvendriyanam vritti prananam pranapana adi rupena ityartaha. Therefore, whenever we say life, we are referring to the functioning of all the faculties as well as their work. Now, these senses or the faculties function in 2 ways. In the external world and in the inner world, Bahya and Antara. Therefore, we are able to see or hear, etc., everything outside as well as inside. If you remember, in the second chapter of Panchadashi, we have seen that the ears are able to hear not only the sounds outside, but also when there is some kind of strike in your stomach, maybe there are too many rats and they are making a noise, that also you can hear. If you become more attentive, you can hear the heartbeat also. Therefore, there are 2 areas where our faculties operate, external and internal. And all these operations in general of all the faculties is called as the prana, etc. Prana, vyana, apana, samana, udana. And now where are they? They are hrudi pranaha, prana is in the heart, then gude apanaha, anus is the apana vayu, samano nabhideshakaha, samana vayu is in the nabhi umbalikas, udanaha kanthadeshe, and vyaraha sarva shariraga. Thus the body is fully taken care of by these pancha pranas. Now, tasya kriya panchatai. Now these pancha pranas have got the 5 types of activities. And this prana, mukhanasika gati, is the one which is moving inside the nose and the mouth. Then avhrudaya vrittihi, and is remaining between the nose and the heart. Then apanenad apanaha, the apana vayu is that which is throwing the things outside, and therefore it is from apadatala vrittihi. So this apana vayu is residing from the umbalikas up to the toe. Prana vayu is from the heart up to the nose. Then unnayanat udanaha, the one urdhvam nayati iti udana. Udana vayu is residing in the kantha deshe, so from the kantha up to the ashiro vrittihi. So from the kantha up to the top of the crown is the udana vayu. And vyanaha vyapi vyapnoti. So this vyana is permeating the total body, because of which the body is functioning. Sarvadeha vyapa vyapi vrittikaha balavat karma hetu vyani hetur vyanaha. Then tesham pradhanaha pranaha. Now the best or the most important in them is the prana. And therefore when we say prana vayu, we also mean the remaining 4. In this manner, that prana is the most primary one. Why it is primary one? Because tadutkrame sarvotkama shrutehe prana utkramana mantam anu sarve prana utkramanti. If the prana goes out, other pranas cannot stay in the body. Therefore this prana is the most important. Now in this, When we have seen now the 5 pranas, now we come to the Udana Vayu. So it is say, Udanasya Jayat. When we conquer the Udana Vayu. So, Udanasya Jayat, how do we conquer the Udana Vayu? When we are able to do the Sanyama on the Udana Vayu. So those who do the Sanyama on the Udana Vayu, they open up their Sushumna Nadi. So, Udana Vayu, so those who are conquered by the Sanyama, this Udana Vayu, Jalapanka Kantakadishu Asangaha. They are not touched by anything in this world. Means what? If they stand on the water, because they are having the conquering of the Udana Vayu, this is very, very subtle and very scientific. Suppose, in this glass there is water, and I take this object and put, it will sink. Now instead of that, if I take a small balloon which has got air in that, and if I put that, it will not sink. What is the reason? Because of the air in that balloon, and it has a tendency to go up. So Udana Vayu, he who has conquered this Udana Vayu, he is able to lift his body away from all the gross world. Therefore, when he is walking on the water, for other people it looks as if he is walking on the water. But actually, he has pulled himself above the water and he is just walking as if he is walking on the water. Similarly, when there are thorns, etc. anywhere, because of this Udana Jaya, he suddenly is able to walk about the thorns. Similarly, in the water or the clay, etc., it doesn't touch him. Therefore, Jala Panka Kantakadishu Asangaha. He doesn't get touched by that, therefore he neither gets buried in the mud or never sinks or never gets hurt by the various kinds of stones or the thorns, etc. And Utkrantischa Prayana Kale Tam Vashitvena Prapnoti. And because of this ability to control Udana Vayu, this yogi is able to leave his body by his choice through the Brahmarandra. The bhogis, they leave their body by the Apana Vayu. This is how Udana Jayat, by conquering the Udana Vayu, one is able to lift his body lighter and lighter. Now see what happens. To understand this point, take. When we have seen a child is awake, and you carry the awake child, you can manage. Now the same child when sleeps, and you carry, oh, so heavy. Now why the child has become heavy suddenly? Because the body of the child was held by the string of the mind. So the mind is a plastic bag in which is kept the body of the child or everybody. Now the weight of the body is held by the plastic bag. So it is something like this. So suppose the weight of this mobile phone, if I keep it on the scale but don't leave fully, I want to maintain this tension. I don't want to happen like this. So if I just keep like this, and suppose the weight is 10 grams, and then I leave totally, weight will increase or decrease? It will increase. Because part of the weight was held by the mind. Now here, Udana Jayat, what happens? The mind takes the total weight of the body. When the mind takes the total weight of the body, now that body is not operating under the law of gravity. And when the body is not operating under the law of gravity, therefore whether that body is on the water or in the mud or on the thorns, it doesn't matter to the body. So Udana Jayat, when this Udana Vayu is won over, conquered, then Jalapanka Kantakadishu Asangaha. And as a result, and also Utkrantischa. So at the time of leaving the body, he has the freedom that he leaves the body from the top. In this manner, he goes in the higher world. So because according to Yoga Shastra, we believe that there are 14 worlds. So then he goes in the higher world by the light path of light and not the path of darkness. This is how the Udana Jayat, this takes place. Now Samana Jayat, Jwalanam. When one has conquered this Samana, the yogi becomes extremely shining personality. See, Jita Samanaha, Samana Jivana Vyaparaha Vishesho Yena Asau Yogi Jita Samanaha. Such a yogi who has conquered all the functioning of the Samana Vayu. And where is the Samana Vayu? The Samana Vayu is Nabhideshaga. So he who has conquered the functioning of the Samana Vayu, then what happens? Tejasa upadmanam krutva. His whole body becomes fully charged with brightness. And Jwalati. Jwalati means he looks very bright. And this is what is shown in the pictures by the artifacts, by the various kinds of artists about the gods. So when Bhagavan Sri Krishna is there, there will be a big halo shown behind his head. If it is some great Mahatma, they will show a big halo behind his head. So that is nothing but the Samana Jaya. Such a yogi is able to have tremendous brightness and he can be distinctly known. Further, next one, Shrotra Akashayoho Sambandha Sanyamat Divyam Shrotram. Now here we have to understand a few things. Sarva Shrotranam Akasham Pratishtha Sarva Shabdanancha. Now the Sarva Shrotranam, for all the ears in the whole world. So Sarva Shrotranam Akasham Pratishtha. It is because of the space that the ears can function. Like what? Suppose inside your ear there is space. Suppose you fill in the space, let us say, with the oil or with cotton or maybe the boiling gold. You know, in the earlier days, they used to give this kind of punishments. If you have seen that gladiator, that society, that time, they used to be so cruel. They used to, like, these days people put the birds to fight with each other, or they will put the bulls to fight, bullfight. That time, that society and the culture, they used to put the human beings to fight with each other. And then they'll kill each other. And all the Italians will be observing how nice, oh good, good, good. The other fellow is getting killed and they were clapping. So, during that kind of the history, it is very clearly said that they used to punish these slaves, etc., by pouring the molten lead in their ears. Now once that space is blocked, nothing can be heard. So, the space in the ear is responsible for the functioning of the ears. So, Sarva Shrotranam Akasham Pratishtha. But which Akash? Karna Shashkulya Vachinna Akash. Karna Shashkulya Vachinna means what? It's too difficult. It means the space which is in reference to the ears. Space means it can be everywhere. But we are talking only about that space in the ear. Similarly, Sarva Shabdanancha, and all the sounds in the world, they are also supported by the space. So, these are the two things. However, there is a basic difference. What is the basic difference? Shabda, as we all know, sound is the quality of space. But Karnendriya, Shravanendriya, is not the result of the space. Then it is from the Ahankar, the Ekadasha Indriyani or the Asmita, Ekadasha Indriyani are born. See? So the origin of the Shabda, the sound that you are hearing, is from the space. But the ear by which you are hearing is not the product or the baby of the space, but it is of the Asmita. See? Now, when the yogi does the Sayyama in the Sambandha, in the joining of the ear and the space. So, Tulya Desha Shravananam Sarvesham Eka Desha Shrutitvam. So, Tad Tatcha Etat Akashasya Lingam. Now, everywhere the ear is the same, and everywhere the space is the same. However, we are able to hear only in our ear, not in somebody else's ear. Now the teacher goes further. He says, this Akasha, which has got other qualities also, like Amurtasya, Varna Darshanat, Akashasya Vibhutvam api Prakhyatam, Akasha space is all pervading, and Shabda Grahananumitam Shrotram, and the ear is that which holds the words, because we can see Badhira Abhidhira Abadhira Yoho, the one who is deaf cannot hear, and the one who is not deaf he can hear, and therefore ears are responsible for hearing. These are all the logical deduction, and therefore Shrotra Akashayoho Sambandhe Kruta Sayyamasya Yoginaha Divya Shrotram Pavartate. So the yogi who has done the Sayyama, now where the space which is in the ear, where the sound is caught by the ear, that space. Space in the ear, touching the organ of hearing, Sambandha. When the yogi does Sayyama, focus 100% attention there for a long period of time, then what happens? Divya Shrotram Pravartate. He develops divine ear. And what is the divine ear? Divine ear is, in the earlier sutra we have already seen. What is seen? That Yogava Sukshma Vyavahita Viprakushta Shabda Grahana Samartham Shrotram Bhavati Ityartaha. We have seen when the various kinds of Sayyama is done, one is able to, there's only 2-3 sutra before, we have seen that Shravana, etc., all these faculties are developed. Now what is this and that? See, and they become the obstacles for Tataha Pratibha Shravana Vedana Adarsha Svada Varta Jayante. So that is also the Siddhi by which you develop the divine ear, and this is also the divine ear. Now what is the difference? The difference is, there you are able to catch all the sounds. They come and you hear them. But here you have got a choice. If you want to hear what is going on in the White House, you sit here and you can hear everything. That faculty is gained by, this is called as the divine ear. Now this is to be extended. Therefore, this is upalakshana. Upalakshana means, this is just an example. The same thing is also explained with the divya tvacha, divya rasana and divya granendriya. So in this manner, where the indriya, the sense organ and the respective panchamahabhut, they come together, and where the knowledge of the smell, taste, touch, hearing takes place, if you focus attention on that spot, then you develop this divine faculties. This is how is the siddhi, where you can apply that siddhi for whatever you want. Now further, 42nd, kaya kashayoho sambandha sanyamat लघुतूल समापत्तिश्च आकाशागमनम्. Kaya akashayoho sambandhat. First, kaya means body and akasha means the space. Now here what is the place where we have to do the sanyama? Very simply it is written, yatra kayaha tatra akasham. Where there is a body, the space has to be there. Without the space, the body cannot enter. So yatra kayaha tatra akasham. Now tasya kayasya avakasha danat tena sambandaha. And therefore the space which is occupying the body, when you do your sanyama in that point, then what happens? This is one. Sambandha praptihi tatra tas sambandham jitva. This is one example. Or tuladishu aparamanubhyaha lagushu samapattim labdhva. The second technique is, or you get intensely identified, samapatti means intense identification. You get intensely identified with something which is extremely light. Such as, example given here is tuladishu. Tula means the fiber of the cotton. So you get identified with that, or aparamanubhyaha, get identified with the atom and the superatom. And when it happens, then jita sambandha samapattim labdhva. As a result, laguhu, one is able to become extremely light. One is, remember, we have seen hasti dishu hasti balani, baleshu hasti baladini. So when we get identified with a heavy thing like the elephant, we also become heavy like that. And when we become extremely identified with the extremely light thing like the cotton, fiber, etc., there also one becomes laghu. And in this manner, these are the two types of techniques. One is kaya akasha sambandha. You focus attention on the space occupied by the body, and or you get identified intensely with the various light or objects in this world. Now lagutvacha, now because of this siddhi, lagutva, lightness, because of this lagutvacha, jale padabhyam viharati, and therefore such a person can walk on the waters very comfortably. Tataha tu urna nabhi tantu matre vrihutya rashmishu viharati. And he becomes so light that he can walk even on the thread of the spider's web. He becomes so light. So rashmishu viharati, even on the rays of the sun he can walk. Tataha yatheshtam akasha gatihi. And as he grows slowly, subtler and subtler, then ultimately he is able to walk in the space without any support. This is how, this is the next siddhi by which kaya akashayoho sambandha sanyamat lagutula samapattescha akasha gamanam. Thereafter comes the prakashavarana kshayaha. This is one of the most important siddhi. And this is the one which any seeker of truth should practice. All other things are only for becoming expert. You know, it is something like what? If you want to win the hurdle race, obstacle race, there was a person, he wanted to practice and win the marathon. And everybody was sure he will win. And it so happens that he, instead of winning in the first place, he wins in the second place. So everybody comes, he says, how come you have not been able to win in the first place? What happened? He said, actually, you know, this 10 miles marathon, so I thought, you know, let me try whether I can run fast or not. So before the actual race started, I have already taken 10 miles round. Naturally, that was his 20 miles marathon. So he stood second. So, to come to the highest point, we do practice. In the same manner, all other sanyamas, they are only the practice. And then how do we know our practice is successful? Find out whether this thing is happening or not. And once you know, hey, my sanyama is perfect, then do this sanyama told in the 43rd sutra. Now then what will happen? Prakasha avarana kshayaha. Your ignorance will be destroyed. Now what is that? And this is the most simple sanyama, extremely simple than anything else, provided you know sanyama. Bahihi akalpita vritti mahavideha tataha prakasha avarana kshayaha. Now here, sharirat bahihi manasaha vritti labha videha nama dharana. When our mind is able to keep itself outside the purview of the body, then it is called as the videha vritti. Videha vritti labha. Now, this is done by the dharana. Because what is dharana? In dharana, we deshabandha chittasya. So when we sit quiet, we do the dharana. Now, I am tying down myself to this heart, the anahata chakra. Now don't move from there. Or bahirdeshe, or we do the dharana, anything outside the body. So by this dharana, we can do this vritti or the thought outside the body as well as inside the body. Now further, sacha bahihi adhisthana rupa dharana videha samanyam ityarthaha. Now this ability to keep the mind outside the body is called as the samanya dharana, videha dharana. Now this videha dharana is of two types. Now these two types have to be very clearly understood. Now ya videha dharana यदि शरीर प्रतिष्ठस्य मनसः बहिर्वृत्ति मात्रेण भवति सा कल्पिता इति उच्यते. Now when this videha dharana is sharira pratishthitasya, that mind is residing in the body. Mind has not left the body. Mind is residing in the body, but the position of the mind is imagined outside, because mind is nothing but imagination. See? It is something like this, If you have seen, I do not know, there are different types of latest techniques in the cinema. What they do, they show, for example, you sit and see the whole screen, and you are going by a tremendously speedy car, and then you are sitting in your chair, and as the car is moving this way, that way, if there are stones, your chair also is, programmed in such a manner that you start getting all the experiences of the movement of the car. And then you feel as if you are in that car, although you are in your own place. I remember once I went to see something, the first instruction was written, if you have got heart problem, high blood pressure, depression and pregnant, do not enter the hall. So that movie which I had seen was that there is a train which is going, and then the train goes through a terrible fire, and then there is bound to be an accident, and the train goes and suddenly applies the brake, and there is a silence. So when the whole thing was going on, the person was sitting next to me, as the train moving, your chair moves and everything, and then holding my hand, Swamiji, what I do, I'm feeling extremely disgusted. Why did you bring me here? I said, don't worry, close your eyes. So close the eyes. Now I'm relieved. So residing in the body, the external experience was fully enjoyed or suffered. This is what is called as the yadharana, ya videhadharana, sharira pratisthasya manasaha bahihi vrittimatrena bhavati sa kalpita iti uchyate. That videha dharana is called as kalpita videha dharana. Now the second one. What is the second one? Sharira nirapeksha, sharira vyakta sharira ityartaha. Na ye bahibhutasya eva manasaha bahihi vritti akalpita. So there is second position now. Second position is the mind was in the first inside the body but experienced everything outside. The second position is the mind doesn't have the reference of the body. Now to tell you how this can be done. When you sit for meditation, as we have been doing many times, after we relax our body, then I had told you that now imagine that you have come out of the body. Then look at the front view of your own body. Now be very attentive. When you are looking at the front view of your body, if you have a feeling that you are turning inside your body to look at you, then it is the kalpita dharana, videha dharana. And if you are sitting quiet, you walk out of your body and look at the body without remaining inside the body, what will happen? As I am seeing you, I see myself. This is akalpita videha dharana. Now just for 2 seconds, we don't have time. For 2 seconds, close your eyes and walk out of your body. Now look at your body from the front view, then from the side view, right side, then from the back side, then from the left side, then from above, Now, open your eyes. Now, what was your experience? Whether you are holding on to your position inside the body and then looking at your own body, then it was vikalpa videha dharana. And if your experience was that you were able to observe your body very comfortably without having to struggle to look at your body because you have already left the body, you are not imagined. If that is happening, then this is called as akalpita. So bahihi bhutasya eva manasaha bahirvritti akalpita videha dharana. Now tatra kalpitaya akalpita mahavideham iti sadhayati. Now the second kind of dharana will not suddenly come. Then first you do the first dharana. What is the first dharana? That I am now going out of the body. So the body is still in the mind and the mind is in the body. Now let me see how the whole thing looks in this hall. The door, the windows, the blackboard. Now if my experience is door is in front, window, the blackboard is backside, then I have not left the position with reference to the body. See? Because back and front is with reference to body. And if my experience is I am seeing the door, the window, the blackboard, etc., without reference to the body, then that is called as avikalpita bahis mahavideha dharana. See how simple it is. How simple it is. So, kalpitaya akalpita mahavideham iti sadhayati yogi yaya yoginaha parasharirani avishanti tatascha dharanataha prakashatmana buddhisattva yad avaranam klesha karma vipakatrayam rajastamo moolam tasya kshayo bhavati. Then what happens? When this happens, then the yogi can enter anybody's body. See? Because now he is no more holding on to his body. That is what I told you, the example of Shankaracharya, that he was maintaining his body without remaining inside the body. And this is one siddhi that explains kriyatmak. And second thing, tatascha, now as a result of this ability of the mind to be detached from the body completely without the death of the body, what happened? Tatascha dharanataha, when this dharana is continued for a long period of time, prakashatmanaha buddhisattvasya avaranam tasya kshayo bhavati. So the buddhi, the antakaran, in this antakaran, what is the avaran? Avaran means the covering. Covering is klesha karma vipakatrayam. You remember in the last sutra we have seen, what is that which is keeping the mind with the body? Is the impressions on the mind. Now by this dharana, when the impressions are slowly washed away, they are removed. And which are those impressions? These are klesha karma vipakatrayam, rajastamo moolam. So the pancha klesha, avidya, asmita, ragadvesha, abhinivesha, then karma vipakatrayam, adi bhautik, adhyatmik, adi daivik, and rajas, tamas, atmakam, born out of the rajoguna, tamoguna. When all of them are erased, the shuddha sattva, the pure sattva guna starts manifesting and the knowledge takes place, ignorance is removed. So tasya kshayo bhavati. In this manner, by This Sayyama, one is able to grow spiritually faster. Because now your attention has come here on the quality of the mind. Now you are working on the mind, not on the body. Doesn't matter in what asana you are sitting. Doesn't matter by which nose you are breathing. Doesn't matter what you are eating. Whether jalebi or cloth. Doesn't matter. Because now you are working on the mind. And how simple it is. You don't require any external support for this. Wherever you are, you know, there was one Mahatma I met long time back, young man. He was that time maybe about in mid-30s. So this is about long time back, almost 15-20 years before. So he came from Andhra Pradesh, married, and he left his wife and children. They used to curse him, he didn't care. And he doesn't know any other language except Telugu. And then he came and he will use some word here and there and talk. And somehow I could catch something. So he told me, he said, I have been doing only one sadhana. And what is that sadhana? The sadhana that I am doing, he was telling me, was this sadhana. He didn't know that this is the sadhana. He said, I am all the time observing the movement of my body. Wherever the body is going, I am walking, remaining outside the body. This is what I have been doing. And my approach is, how he is the devotee of Shirdi Sai Baba. How Baba must be looking at me, that way I look at my body. And slowly, he said, everything started changing. I had done nothing else. So, that time I had not studied this. So, I said, but how this can happen? He said, I don't know. What was his name? He used to refer him by that name. Krishna Rava Garo, no. That's all. But he was doing that. This is that Siddhi. Slowly, you train your mind. Be very attentive. We have trained our mind to be identified with the body. So, Abhyasa Vairagya Abhyam Tan Nirodha. It is only by the Abhyasa alone that we can separate the mind from the body and attain this avikalpa videha dharana. Then what to do? Then enter anybody's house. Enter anybody's body. Tataha prakashavaranam kshayaha. Then the ignorance regarding one's identity, whether I am the body or I am the jiva, is discarded. Then we come to get established in this absolute self. Now, the next sutra takes us to the next siddhi, Sthula Swarupa, Sukshma Anvaya, Arthavatva, Sayyamad Bhuta Jayaha. Now here, this is a very, and when you read that commentary, you see it's so complicated. So to make it very simple, I'll just tell you in very simple words. These are the 5 aspects. What are the 5 aspects? Sthula, Sukshma, now for Sthula, then Swarupa, then Sukshma, then Anvaya and Arthavat. These are the 5. So, Sayyaman, when the yogi does the Sayyama in these 5 aspects of anything, then one is able to do Bhuta Jaya, conquer that particular or all the elements. So conquering the Pancha Mahabhutas is possible by this Sanyama. What is the meaning? So first of all, Sthula. So Sthula means what? Sthula Rupa is Indriya Gochara. So when we see the earth, that earth which is seen by the eyes is called as Sthula Prithvi. That water which is seen by the eyes is called as the Sthula, the gross water. So Sthula, Indriya Gochara. Then second is the Swarupa. Swarupa means what? What is the special quality of that Pancha Mahabhuta? The special quality of that Pancha Mahabhuta is what? The earth is hard, solid, etc. And the water is liquidy, the fire is hot, the air is constantly moving, and the space supports everything. Avakashat akashaha. So these are the special qualities attributed to each of the Pancha Mahabhut. This is called as Swarupa. Then the third one is Sukshma Rupa. Now what is the Sukshma Rupa? Sukshma Rupa is the Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasagandha. The five Tanmatras are called as the Sukshma Rupa. And thereafter is Anvaya Rupa. Every Pancha Mahabhuta has got the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. This is how we have seen from the Sattva Guna aspect of the space, the ears are formed. From the Sattva Guna aspect of the air, the skin is formed, Tvagendriya. Then the Sattva Guna aspect of the fire, the eyes are formed. Then from the Sattva Guna aspect of the waters, the Rasana is formed. And Sattva Guna aspect of the Prithvi Tattva is the Granendriya. This is how every Pancha Mahabhuta has these three. That is called as the Anvaya of these Mahabhutas. And the last one is Arthavatva. What is the purpose of every object in this world? Is Bhoga Apavarga Prayojanata. Bhoga Apavarga is for experience of the Jiva. All these objects are created. All the Pancha Mahabhutas are there, and also Apavarga, not only to remain in the Bhoga and become a Rogi, but to go beyond it, Apavarga, discover liberation from the relative experiences. In this manner, when somebody is able to do the Sanyama, all the five aspects of each Pancha Mahabhuta, he is conquering every Pancha Mahabhuta. First of all, these five things difficult to remember, and then do the Sanyama. Then you will get a Bhuta Jaya. It's not ordinary thing. Therefore, such a yogi, what happens to him? Bhuta Prakrutayaha, and then Asya Sankalpa Anuvidayanyaha Bhavanti. Then, when he has thus conquered the Pancha Mahabhutas, then all the Pancha Mahabhutas become his slave. What is the meaning of becoming the slave? If he just desires anything, he is able to get instantaneously exactly that recipe. A particular smell, that particular smell. A particular taste, that particular taste. See, in the life of some Mahatmas, Siddha Purushas, I have read this peculiar thing. When his mother used to tell him, "You have not taken food, come, take food." And this Siddha Purusha Mahatma as a child used to say, "No, Mama, I have taken food." "No, you have not taken." "No, I have taken, you have forgotten. I have taken food." And she has seen that this boy was not in the house since morning. Then he will say, see my hand. Is it not having the smell of the sambar, chutney, idli and vada that you have prepared? See? So she will smell. Ah, yes, it is there. Because I have eaten. And he has not eaten. These all siddhis are not imagination. They are not hypnotism. Bhuta Jayat. And such Mahatmas are able to create anything out of the admixture of these Pancha Mahabhutas. So these are the recognized siddhis according to the Yoga Shastra. Tato animadi pradurbhavaha kaya sampad dharma anabhighatascha. Now when these Bhuta Jaya, we conquer these Pancha Mahabhutas, as the result of this, which are those siddhis which take place? This is shown in the 45th Sutra that we will take in our next class. Here we will conclude. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.